Well, look what time it is. It's time for me to say, I told you so, because Barack Hussein Obama's birth certificate is a total fraud. It is, without a doubt, an illegal forged document. And before you start calling me a birther or a conspiracy theorist or say that this is fake news, let me prove it to you. All right, this will only take a few minutes. I say we have some fun with this. And I promise this is going to be very, very interesting, so check it out. And for those of you out there who think anyone who questions Obama's birth certificate, well, that we should be wearing tinfoil hats, this is your opportunity to prove us wrong here at InfoWars, make me look like a dumbass, and finally put a nail in the coffin or finally debunk this Obama birth certificate conspiracy theory once and for all. So let's get started, shall we? First up, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, the man in charge of the investigation, steps up to the plate. And I tell you what, he hit a home run last week when he held a press conference where criminal investigators made a breaking announcement about the legitimacy of the birth certificate belonging to Barack Obama, the ghost president of the United States.
Every official in Hawaii, Democrat and Republican, every news outlet that has investigated this, confirmed that, yes, in fact, I was born in Hawaii, August 4th, 1961, in Kapiolani Hospital.
So here we are. I'm going to cut this layer. Boom. And now we're going to add it to a different layer on top of that other layer. And now you can see this is a completely different layer, and there's even a missing number on this when you bring this back in. Yeah, so this one was here originally, but then they added these numbers, it looks like. Watch the signature here. Part of the signature's there and part of it's not. They add the numbers 1 here and over here. There's a 3 and a 1 added. You can just see by turning it on and off. You know, there's different letters all over this that have been added into it.
Obama's birth certificate has been proven by 2 leading experts in forensic fraud documentation to be a forgery.
Let me tell you about Reed Hayes, a man with 40 years, since 1974, 40 plus years of experience in examining forensic document, handwriting, a man who's well respected in his expertise, a court-recognized expert, a document examiner. Mr. Hayes told me right off the bat, I'm an Obama supporter. I voted for him twice. He goes, and I will never do anything to hurt the President of the United States. What I had said to him was, Reed, I am not asking you to hurt the President of the United States. I'm asking you to take a look at this document and clear it and tell me there's nothing wrong with it. Would you at least do that? And he took a look at it. And when he called me back, he told me, Mike, I can't clear this. There's something wrong with it. We utilized forensic document examiners, Reed Hayes in Hawaii, and a company named 4Lab in Italy. 4Labs trains law enforcement throughout Europe. 4Labs, everybody in that building is a PhD. These guys know their stuff. And I'm going to tell you what I respect about both of them. Both Reed Hayes and Marco at 4Labs stayed true to their discipline. These men could not be pushed. This is their findings, this is how they see it, and this is how they're calling it.
The birth certificate on the left belongs to Barack Obama. The birth certificate on the right belongs to Johanna Ani. After 5 years of intense investigation, which included consultation with one of America's most respected forensic document examiners and a team of European media forensic experts, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has reached a conclusion utilizing forensic techniques both old and new. It is the opinion of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office that the birth certificate on your right belonging to Johanna Ani was in fact used as a source document in the digital creation of Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate. 9 points of forgery in which words, letters, and hand-placed date stamps have been digitally copied from the Ani long-form birth certificate and pasted onto Obama's long-form birth certificate.
And that was one of the original things people noticed was the alignment was off on some of the rows, and even before people were getting in this detail to the forensics, you could see it was a little off.
You know, while we're watching this, I'm reminded of Michelle Obama attacking Trump on this very issue.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting, though, you know, what sort of happens after this, if they're able to get enough people to agree that, wow, you know what, how many
How is
more
the-
layers of evidence do we need before we start saying something's fishy here? I mean, it's going to just have a reverb effect throughout everything else that comes out of
That's right.
the White House. No one's going to believe. They don't even believe this whole Russian disinformation campaign going on.
The real fake news, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, one of the biggest offenders.
I know when you see that,
You know, they're going to spin this, Leanne, and it's up to people listening to shut it off.
They concluded that it is 1,000 times more probable that the document is inauthentic. They also concluded that if they had a greater sampling, that number would be higher, because they have concluded that that document, it is highly improbable, next to impossible, that you will find another document with every anomaly we just showed you. Reed Hayes' conclusion, the evidence noted herein is clear and convincing proof that the Obama certificate of live birth posted on whitehouse.gov on April 27, 2011, is a fraudulently manufactured document.
5 years ago, when the Tea Party, 250 of them, came to my office, said, "You're the elected sheriff, will you please investigate the birth certificate?" And I don't think I was crazy. I've been a federal guy for 30 years. I think I knew the heat I would take, but I had to do it, and I did. With Mike Zullo, I appointed him to do it because there was no taxpayers' money. Posse works for nothing. I knew I would get heat on that issue, and I did it. I said I could care less where he is from. I stick with that. I said we are investigating a forged, fraudulent government document. I said that from day one. I continue to say that. And I said from day one, show the birth certificate or a microfiche, and we'll all go home. That's never happened. Mike Zullo has done a great job, tenacity, and we got some lucky breaks to put the nail in the coffin recently, and that's what I went public on. Had nothing to do with me leaving office, because I would have done the same thing if I was reelected.
Now, most of you know that the mainstream media has been very critical of anyone suggesting that Barack Obama's birth certificate might be a fraud. And believe me, they got the memo. I'm talking about the people who work for the mainstream media. They know that Obama's birth certificate is off limits. You don't go there unless, of course, someone like Donald Trump shows up and starts asking questions. Or if Alex Jones brings it up, that's when the establishment media goes into full attack mode and they come to Obama's rescue.
Donald Trump and Alex Jones, the conservative conspiracy theorist and operator of the website InfoWars, which seems to be a place where Trump gets a lot of his information. Jones can take credit for spearheading some of the most outrageous theories on the internet. Jones' theories reach tens of millions each month and are now often echoed by the next president of the United States. Take President Obama's birth.
Trump comes along and said, birth certificate. He gave a birth certificate. Whether or not that was a real certificate, because a lot of people question it, I certainly question it.
Now, I want you all to listen very carefully, because what I'm about to say is very important, and I want to be clear so there's no misunderstanding. We are not saying that Barack Obama was born outside of the United States and that he is not a U.S. citizen. We're not even claiming that communist Frank Marshall Davis is Barack Obama's father. Fact is, we just don't know. I personally believe Obama's father is Frank Marshall Davis, but this investigation does not prove that. What we do know is significant. Forensic evidence proves without a doubt that the official birth certificate belonging to Barack Obama, the President of the United States, is a fake. Mike Zullo, the chief investigator from Sheriff Joe Arpaio's Cold Case Posse, he joins us now. And Mike, Arpaio and yourself, you guys were on the Alex Jones show over the weekend, and it was Sheriff Joe who said that you guys put the final nail in the coffin of this birther controversy, if you will. Do you think it is? I would imagine there's a lot of people out there that still refuse to believe it. Am I right?
You're right. There are people that no matter what you did are not going to believe this issue. As far as the document is concerned, we had two different forensic experts, two different disciplines, two different continents review our information, and all came to the same conclusion. The document is completely fraudulent. It's inauthentic. It's not what it represents itself to be.
What does this say about the mainstream news media? Because we've been covering this for a long time, and they refuse to follow this. And I expected at least a little more participation after this press conference. Why do you think they're not talking about it?
Well, this information is devastating. And what you have to realize is this goes directly to document fraud and a fraudulent document being proffered to the American people during an election cycle as evidence that I am good to go. You can vote for me.
It's a federal offense. Am I right?
Oh my God, there's numerous federal offenses under Title 18. Somebody's looking at 40 years somewhere along the line here.
Well, I want to learn more about the forensic labs that tested the document. It was headed up by a guy that was a liberal. He did not want to damage Barack Obama's reputation, but he can't hide from the evidence, and he was faced with the facts. I mean, he had to. I mean, this is obviously a fraud, and there's no denying it.
No, Reed Hayes, a certified document examiner, recognized as an expert in courtroom testimony. I mean, this guy has credentials longer than my arm. And we used him the first time. I think it was the first press conference we released that we used Reed Hayes. Media completely ignored it. When Mr. Hayes took on the assignment, he made it very clear to me he was a supporter of Barack Obama's, wanted nothing to really do with this. And I had asked him if he would kindly take a look at it and just verify for me the document is okay and we can close this issue. And like a true professional, he looked at it, there was problems, and he said, I can't verify the document is okay. There's something wrong with it.
Well, I hope a lot of people out there who are watching this, who have supported Obama over the years or who have doubted that this is real, I hope they come to the realization and, you know, they got to face the facts as well. And I hope they have the courage to stand up for what is real. And I'm also curious about, you know, the first time we saw the document, it was years ago. I mean, it really wasn't even that good of a forgery to begin with, because we were able to take the layers, and this was like a Photoshop layered document, which just simply did not exist in the 60s, right?
No, it didn't. And the problem with the layering argument was there was so many different computer explanations for things. Even though we never believed that it was anything other than a forgery, we have to look at an investigation as not just simply making an arrest. You look at it for conviction. And conviction means you have to convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that you're correct. And the problem with the computer forensics and the way the document would break apart, look, it was completely suspect. But you could make arguments that computerized anomalies were created by algorithmic problems inside the computer systems or the scanners. We needed to get completely away from that. And that's how we got to our 9 points of verified forgery. You're not going to be able to refute this document. It's a fraud.
Were there forensic labs who refused to cooperate? They're just like, they don't want nothing to do with it, and they said, no way, we're going to investigate this?
Yeah, like about 200. Right over 200. Wow. We got 28 responses, 6 of those on the phone. Everyone told us the same thing. They weren't going to touch it. It's too high profile. We ended up actually having to go overseas. We contacted people in Germany. Germany was going to do it, but I would have had to rob Circle K's to pay them. China told us no, obviously. And we never went to Russia. Russia has nothing to do with this. We ended up, through talking to some people, they put us in touch with 4Lab, who is the forensic technicians that we used. They train law enforcement all throughout Europe. Their specialty is child pornography cases. And they did the work, and they were really, really good with us. I mean, they painstakingly ran this thing through its paces. And if there was any time they thought it wasn't going to be what it was, they were going to tell me.
Well, and I also want to point out to our audience that the birth certificate is not the only document in question. There's lots of mysteries surrounding Barack Obama. That's why I've always called him the ghost president, because we really don't know who this guy is. A lot of his college records are sealed. We don't have access to him, or maybe you can even refer to him as the Manchurian candidate. Mike Zillow, you got the last word.
Well, I'm on board with that. I mean, the background, it doesn't work. The background has dead ends to it. You don't know anything. After 8 years, we still don't really know anything. Nobody knows who he is. And we don't have a document that really is verifying his birth anywhere in the United States at this point. That's a fraudulent document. Nobody knows the truth.
All right, where do we go from here? I understand there's legislation that you're trying to put in place to stop this from happening again.
We do. We want to push for legislation called the Presidential Transparency Act. We want it that if a Secretary of State has an issue like this, Secretary of States across the country don't have any way to investigate something like this. We want statutory provisions where a Secretary of State of any state on cause could petition the FBI to do a proper background vetting investigation of anyone wanting to be president or vice president. We think it's very fair. It's very easy. The janitor in the White House goes through more vetting than the president of the United States.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I tell you what, we're out of time. Thanks for your courage. We really appreciate what you've done. And, give our best regards to Arpaio. You guys have a Merry Christmas. We'll see you back sometime next year.
In case
case you haven't heard, InfoWars has become the most influential media outlet in America. We're making freedom go viral. And now we are proud to announce a new weapon in the epic battle against the globalists, InfoWars Prime, where you can watch live high-definition feeds of The Alex Jones Show, plus exclusive insider videos from the InfoWars crew and behind-the-scenes action. Go to Infowars.com/app and download today. InfoWars Prime is available right now for your iPhone or Android. You will have access to exclusive videos that you can't see anywhere else. And that means live coverage of events and breaking news on location as it happens. You can also take advantage of amazing deals from the InfoWars store that are only available for InfoWars Prime subscribers. That's InfoWars Prime at Infowars.com/app. If you can hear my voice, you are the resistance. Well, look what time it is. It's time for me to say, I told you so, because Barack Hussein Obama's birth certificate is a total fraud. It is, without a doubt, an illegal forged document. And before you start calling me a birther or a conspiracy theorist or say that this is fake news, let me prove it to you. All right, this will only take a few minutes. I say we have some fun with this. And I promise this is going to be very, very interesting, so check it out. And for those of you out there who think anyone who questions Obama's birth certificate, well, that we should be wearing tinfoil hats, this is your opportunity to prove us wrong here at InfoWars, make me look like a dumbass, and finally put a nail in the coffin or finally debunk this Obama birth certificate conspiracy theory once and for all. So let's get started, shall we? First up, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, the man in charge of the investigation, steps up to the plate. And I tell you what, he hit a home run last week when he held a press conference where criminal investigators made a breaking announcement about the legitimacy of the birth certificate belonging to Barack Obama, the ghost president of the United States.
Every official in Hawaii, Democrat and Republican, every news outlet that has investigated this, confirmed that, yes, in fact, I was born in Hawaii, August 4th, 1961, in Kapiolani Hospital.
So here we are. I'm going to cut this layer. Boom. And now we're going to add it to a different layer on top of that other layer. And now you can see this is a completely different layer, and there's even a missing number on this when you bring this back in. Yeah, so this one was here originally, but then they added these numbers, it looks like. Watch the signature here. Part of the signature's there and part of it's not. They add the numbers 1 here and over here. There's a 3 and a 1 added. You can just see by turning it on and off. You know, there's different letters all over this that have been added into it.
Obama's birth certificate has been proven by 2 leading experts in forensic fraud